What if your life was an invitation and everything wasn't just happening to you, but through you? When you start to believe in the magic of you, you become it. This is your invitation to heal and rise above into the fullest expression of you. This is the Liz Svatek Show, and your transformation starts now. Let's begin.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Liz Svatek Show, where we rise, we reinvent, and we reclaim our lives no matter what we've faced. So, guys, today's guest is someone whose story will stay with you long after this episode ends. And I have been literally loving him from afar for a year and a half, and I'm so pleased he's here. So Damon West was a Division I starting quarterback who became a convicted felon. He was sentenced to 65 years in a Texas prison. But that was not the end of his story. It was the beginning. And Damon emerged from those prison walls not bitter, but transformed. And that is what this podcast is all about, transformation. So now Damon is a best-selling author, a nationally known keynote speaker. In fact, he just told me he travels 25 days out of the 30 days in a month. And he's a man who teaches the world what it truly means to change from the inside out. His message is, you are the coffee bean. You have the power to transform any environment you're placed into. So today we're going to dive deeper into Damon's journey, the hidden struggles behind his rise, the wisdom he carries forward for all of us, walking our own path of redemption, healing, and impact. So Damon, welcome to the Liz Svatek Show. Truly an honor.
Liz, that is an incredible introduction. I mean, like, you covered a lot of ground in the introduction. And I feel like with that introduction, we could just jump in just about anywhere, right? I mean, this is like, I'm excited about this today. But also, let me tell you this. I'm excited that you're excited, that you, like what you told me when we were offline just a while ago, that you've been following me from afar. You've been wanting to do this interview. It feels so good to be wanted and needed. Because I've been in a lot of places. We're going to hear from this story. I've been in a level 5 maximum security prison. I've been an addict on the streets. I've been a good husband, a father, son, all those things. But I've learned that human beings want two things out of life. This is like universal anywhere you go, even inside that prison we're going to go into. Human beings want two things. We want to belong and we want to be loved. And if those two things are met, Liz, anything is possible in the human spirit, right? It's one of the most indestructible things I've ever encountered. But that's what this story is about. Hope, redemption, the human spirit. Listen, I'm a storyteller, Liz, so I can't wait to tell stories on your show.
God, yes.
And you know what I know? I know that people love stories with certain elements, right? We love the underdog story because when the underdog wins, we win. We've all been the underdog before, right?
Yes.
We love stories that have elements like sports. I think sports is really the great uniter in this country. You know, you talked about me being a D1 quarterback. Sports plays a role. We love stories. We love the happily ever after, right? Because that gives us hope that our lives we'll have that happily ever after too. I think everybody wants that in life. We grow up on these stories. But you know what I know that we really love?
I know where you're going.
True crime in prison, man. We love those kind of stories. So
it's so true.
I got them all, Liz. I got them all. Tell me where we're going.
You've got it. I never realized, but you really do have it all. Oh my God, you do. So I do want to go into this story. And normally, let me say this. I don't always love people to tell a full story on a podcast because I'm like, no, we need to interview. We need to questions. And I will ask you questions for sure. But I need you to tell this story because I have never heard a truer, more clear example, frankly, of healing, transformation, and redemption. When you think you're at your lowest point, when you think you've been left on the street to die, right? And what you can build out of that. So I would love for you, and I'm going to jump in with questions when I feel like it's right, but I would love for you to tell your story because it's incredible.
Yeah. And look, before we even get into the story, I'm going to tell you the main character in my story. It's not Damon West. It's not even this guy named Muhammad. It's not my sponsor in my program recovery. It's my mom. And you're going to see why my mom is
true.
She's the rock star, the whole thing. And she's the glue that holds it all together. And I think it's just, the timing is great because when we're recording this is right before Mother's Day. So let's jump right in. I think the best place to start this story is May 18th, 2009. On May 18th, 2009, I'm standing in front of a jury in Dallas. And the jury, these 12 men and women in this jury box, they just sat through a 6-day criminal trial. And Liz, 6 days of a trial for crimes where no one got hurt. The crime is a RICO case. It's engaging in organized criminal activity. I'm the mastermind of the entire thing. I'm the leader of a bunch of other meth addicts. I'm a meth addict myself. We break into houses all over Dallas for about 3 years. Now, the jury heard the story about this guy named Damon West, the leader of the whole thing. Damon West, who came from this incredible 2-parent home. My mom and my dad were married for 55 years. My mom and my dad are in the courtroom the whole time, too. I had it all, Liz. I had love, I had nurturing. My mom had us in church, so we had a great foundation. We're Christian, but not everybody has to be Christian for the story. But what I'm saying is, so we're Christian. We grew up Christian. My mom is, one of those mothers that, she's got prayer plaques and crosses everywhere. They did everything right that they could. I was a good student, great athlete. Texas high school football. I grew up under the Friday night lights. I was a star quarterback in my town. Scholarship to play football at the University of North Texas, Division I college football. By the time I'm 20, I'm the starting quarterback. But that same year that I'm 20 years old, I get injured in a game against Texas A&M. The career is over. The dream is dead. I turn to drugs and alcohol. I couldn't live life on life's terms. And that's the hallmark of being an addict, right? I'm putting in the chemicals, the cocaine, the ecstasy, the pills. Pretty functional addict, graduate college, move off to Washington, D.C.
Let me ask you one question, because I know you're going to continue, and I want to get. It's a really good point you just made. So you were in essence the golden boy.
And it all, everything.
So is that why you think you went to drugs? Because you had had it so good and you had this dream for yourself. And when the dream died, you were like, I got nothing.
It's such a good point you just made. I wrapped my identity up into being a football player. I was raised, you're raised in Texas high school sports. You're the star quarterback. I'm the guy. And look, to be honest with you, Liz, going even deeper back to childhood, the only reason why I picked up a football and started throwing a football wasn't my main sport growing up. It was baseball. I picked up a football one day, had a cannon for an arm, and I realized that the quarterback was the guy that everybody loved, right? The girls especially were into the quarterback, right?
Of course.
Like, that's the guy that gets all the attention. That's the position I'm playing. And I've got this personality, Liz, that I'm going all in, whatever I'm doing. So I got really good at playing football, and that's how I got my scholarship. But I got so absorbed in that lifestyle of being the man, and I was. I mean, small town Texas, college football, Division I level. But once that was gone abruptly in 1996 against A&M, once the career was over, my identity was gone too. I didn't have another identity, and I made a lot of mistakes at this fork in the road in life because my identity of being a football player was no longer there, and I couldn't find another identity. And that's when I turned to drugs, because chemicals take us away from the real world. They take us away from what we're going through in life. And that's what, I said at the beginning, I work a 12-step program recovery, and you counsel people that are in addiction too. That's the thing we have to do. We have to find out where the trauma is that caused all this, because the substance abuse is a symptom of the problem. It's not the problem, right?
Exactly.
So you can't just treat the substance abuse and think you're treating the problem. You've got to go back to where the problem started. So once my identity was gone, I was lost. I was listless. In fact, I would say that I never found another true identity until I got into prison and I started working on myself. But that's further down the line in the story.
Yeah.
So back to the story. 2004, I moved back to Dallas. I'm a stockbroker at UBS, one of the biggest banks in the world. And this other stockbroker introduced me to meth one day. And I'm passed out asleep at work. He's like, hey, I got something that'll pick you up. We go to the parking garage. We get in his car. I take my first hit of meth, instantly hooked just like that. And I couldn't give everything away fast enough for this drug because, Liz, that's what addicts do. We give things away. The very definition of an addict is someone that gives up their goals to meet their behaviors. That's the definition of addiction. When you give up a goal to meet a behavior, you're an addict too. And addiction doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. This is food, money, clothing, shopping, sex, pornography.
Emotions. You can be emotional.
Yes, emotionally.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in a position of life where you've given up goals to meet a behavior, your addictive personality is coming out in you too. And I think we all have this embedded into somewhere. And scrolling through a phone can be, Liz, I read an article the other day that human beings are on the phone 6 to 7 hours of screen time a day. Yes. I don't get 6 to 7 hours of sleep a night. 6 hours a day is 3 months of the year. That's a long time on your phone. But people have different addictions, and it's how far you go into it. Like I said a while ago, I'm all in on whatever I'm doing. So I got hooked on meth. It was 18 months after my first hit. I was living on the streets. I've smoked everything up: my job, my home, my car, my savings account, my family, my tether to God. I live on the streets. I become a criminal, and I start committing crimes. And then eventually I start breaking into people's houses.
No, wait, where is your mother in this? Because
6 hours away in a town called Port Arthur. I live in Dallas at the time.
no, but what is she thinking? You've now gone from star golden boy. She's got this plaques in the home everywhere. She's obviously a super Christian. You know, she
Yeah.
has big time faith, and you were her golden boy. You're a golden boy, and she gave you everything. Now you are, in a matter of a very short time, it sounds like you are now on the street. What is she? What is
she does? But she doesn't know because I'm lying.
Oh, she doesn't even know.
No, that's what addicts do. We lie. Addicts lie. We're deceitful. We're manipulative. We do anything we do to get what we want. That's what addiction is. The most selfish thing I've ever encountered in my life. And I'm saying that as an addict. I'm in recovery now, Liz, but I'm always going to be an addict. I'm going to be an addict in long-term recovery, one day at a time, hopefully. But the thing about addiction is it's very selfish. And so I don't care about my parents' feelings to the point that I'm going to be honest with them. Not that I don't care about my parents, but it's just I care about the dope. I care about the high.
Your addiction.
I'm in my addiction. And I tell people all the time that I think for the most part, addicts are not bad people for the most part. They're sick people that do bad things. I don't think it's the other way around. I think they're sick people that do bad things in their disease of addiction. And look, I lied to my parents. They would, where are you working now? And I tell them I'm working for a software company or a limousine company. I would just make
anything. Yeah.
Because they're 6 hours away. They don't know.
Right.
My mom does know something's wrong. My mom and my dad know. My mom is begging with me during this time. Damon, come back home to Port Arthur. Come live with us. You know, it'll be fine here. But there's no way I was going to move to Port Arthur and live with my parents because my dope dealers weren't in Port Arthur with my parents, right?
100%.
That's what dope was in Dallas. And to be honest with you, I became a pretty proficient burglar. I mean, I got into this thing pretty well. I always made sure my victims weren't home because I didn't want to run into anybody. And to go through the lengths of doing this, I stole a mailman outfit from a post office one time. So I would dress up like the mailman, go through these neighborhoods. I was a ghost, you know. These crimes go on for about 3 years, these burglaries. They call them the Uptown burglaries, and they called me the Uptown burglar. They didn't know who I was, but that was the moniker I had in the media. And look, burglaries are a very serious crime list. Even though no one was ever home, I never saw my victims. They never saw me. No one was physically hurt. No weapons were used. It doesn't mean I wasn't a bad guy and I didn't hurt people, because here's what I did. When I stole from people, when I broke into their homes, I didn't just steal their property. I stole their sense of security. And that is something I can't give back to my victims. I can't change what I did to my victims, by the way. I can't even apologize to them. The state of Texas told me it's a felony to apologize to the victim of a crime in Texas. They'll send you back to prison if you make an apology in Texas. So my victims have to live with that for the rest of their lives. But after 3 years of committing property crimes against the people of Dallas, Texas, the Dallas SWAT team on July 30th, 2008, put an end to the Uptown burglaries. The day that SWAT arrested me. Or a little shift in mindset that we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
A shift in mindset that actually looks for the opportunity in the adversity in life. You know, I look back at July 30th, 2008. That's not just the day I was arrested. That was the day I was rescued. SWAT pulls me out of a situation I couldn't get myself out of. And Liz, it's inconceivable to think that most people will ever go through a SWAT team raid, because most people will never go through a SWAT team raid, right? Yeah. But I challenge my audiences all the time to look at it like this. The SWAT teams of life, they come for us in different ways. The SWAT teams can be a divorce. They can be a bankruptcy. They can be a life-altering event. They can be something that happened to one of your children, one of your pets. Somebody dies in your family. A marriage fails. A family is broken up. These are SWAT teams in life. But when the SWAT team comes, at some point, you have to ask yourself, where's the opportunity in this adversity? Because it's in there somewhere. Yeah. And I think we find out that when we adopt that kind of mindset, and it's tough to do, when we adopt that kind of mindset, we will go through that adversity because we know that on the other side of the adversity is the best version of us. We get to shake the hand of the man or woman we were always destined to be.
Yeah. And you know what? Two things that are coming up for me when you're talking about this is One of the things I'm always coaching clients into is, when they first start working with me, they say, everything's happening to me.
Yeah, not for you. Yeah.
Everything's happening to me. And
Yeah.
I say, okay. Then I move them into everything's happening for me.
Yeah.
But then you learn when you get to your place that everything's happening through you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're literally calling these experiencing it's not because the universe is and God is a horrible place and God's a punishing God. It's because we're always being called to heal and transform to our highest version of us. And when you lost the identity of the football player, you lost the golden boy identity, and then the SWAT team comes for you. And now you've lost that identity. Now you've lost criminal meth head, guy. Now you've lost that identity. It's so interesting, right, to me, how these losses of your identity, even though that identity wasn't the greatest identity, but it was an identity nonetheless.
Sure. Yeah.
Led you to this identity.
Correct. And it's,
right?
And what you're hitting on is a very salient point here, is that we have got to be amendable to what the higher purpose is for us, because sometimes we pick a path that we think is the path for us. And this is great. This is what my purpose is in life. We're not even scratching the surface yet. We don't even know what our real purpose is. And I think God, whatever you believe God is, so I'm a Christian, we know that mine's Christ. I think that God takes stories like this to show that he's real. And whatever you believe is the real deity out there, because I don't have all the answers either. But whatever you believe the real deity is, that's how God shows he's real. Because by taking a person and breaking them down and creating this version of them that's, things are happening through them, they become the vessel, right? Yes. There's no other way to explain this than a higher power. Because
no other way.
The transformation that happened in my life that we're about to hear about, it all comes from this thing that I call a spiritual awakening. And the spiritual awakening is this. I didn't say religious awakening, by the way, because I don't get really big into religious. I think religion is a man-made thing. I think spirituality is your conscious contact with whatever you call God. And you can have total control over that. Believe that's yours, whatever you call God. But a spiritual awakening is when you come to terms with the idea that the role that you play is not as big as the one that was in your head, that the role that you play is really as a servant leader. You're helping other people reach their goals in life. And whenever you find out what that is for you, that you can help other people grow, you grow too. That's the spiritual awakening that happens. But to do the spiritual awakening, you've got to give up this idea of control. There's only a few things you're going to be able to control in life. And it took me going through prison, being stripped of everything, especially my ego and my pride, to understand that there are only a few things that control life. I control what I think, what I say, what I feel. And what I mean is what I do with my feelings. Do I share what's going on? Am I vulnerable? And what you do, what you think, what you say, what you feel, and what you do. And when I'm laying on the floor that day, when the SWAT team's coming to get me, I realized that day that I have lost control of everything. And give you a story. So a question, the book that I just wrote, 6 Dimes and a Nickel, that's going to come out this summer. The book starts off with
pre-ordered mine, just so you know.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. And that's how you become a bestseller. And this story we're going to hear today, I want this to become a movie. And the only way for it to become a movie is to make it a bestseller, and pre-orders how that happens. So 6 Dimes and a Nickel. The book starts off with a question, Liz. The question is this: if someone took control of your life tomorrow, what's the first thing they would change? Mm-hmm. Now, I first heard this question posed by James Clear. The question grabbed me because here's the catch, right? If you know what the answer to that question is, you already know what you need to change. Then the question really becomes, why have you not already made the change? And I believe the answer lies in forms of fear. Now, change is scary, Liz. Change can be difficult. Change is hard. Change takes us outside that really neat place called the comfort zone. But Liz, that's a great place to navigate towards, outside your comfort zone, because that's where growth takes place. And nothing really big is going to happen inside your comfort zone. I'm sure you've told your coaching clients.
Comfort zones could be a horrible marriage. It could be a drug addiction. That could be your comfort zone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A terrible relationship where you're abused. And,
absolutely.
People have a perverse concept of what love really is, because their comfort zone may tell them that's what love is. And that's not what it is. But that's a great place to navigate towards, Liz, outside your comfort zone. And that's what the new book talks about, taking you outside. And that's where I was that day, lying on the floor, is outside my comfort zone. So I know what it's like to be in a position of life. This is why James Clear's question caught me, because I know what it's like to be in a position of life where someone does take control of your life. Because on May 18th, 2009, the jury in Dallas that sat through a 6-day criminal trial, they came back with their verdict in 10 minutes. Now, Liz, if a jury comes back in 10 minutes on a 6-day trial, it means they smoked you, right?
Right. Well, first of all, you said you didn't have time to eat your sandwich. That's what scared. I'm telling you, what I heard, you didn't have time to even eat the stupid bologna sandwich or whatever the hell they give you.
Yes.
I'm like, you didn't even eat the sandwich? Like, that's 5 seconds.
And what you're talking about is that break that they had. So when the judge said, hey, the case is over, we're going to recess while the jury goes to deliberate, they grab me up. And there's time it takes to get someone from the defense table. They got to put handcuffs back on me again outside the view of the jury. They escort me out the side of the courtroom. They have a little cell on the side, and they bring me to the cell. Then they have to have these sandwiches that are brought up, that are there waiting. It's 2 bologna sandwiches. That's your lunch, because they happen on lunch break, right? So the guard brings me the bailiff brings me these 2 bologna sandwiches, and I'm ravished. I'm so hungry because this trial is going on. At that point, I've been in the courtroom for 4 or 5 hours since the morning, and the break finally hits, and I'm starving. And I take a bite to the bologna sandwich, and I'm just chomping down. And it's a horrible little bologna sandwich, but it's the best thing in the world because it's food at the time. And then the bailiff bangs on the glass door, and he has a grin on his face. He said, they're ready. They've got an answer. Let's go. And I was like, what? Like, an answer in 10 minutes? Like, my throat tightened up, Liz. I couldn't even swallow the bite of the bologna sandwich that I was eating because I knew that this was bad. If a jury comes back in 10 minutes, it means they smoked you. And he was grinning from ear to ear. I knew he knew whatever it was. I'm like, oh, man. My throat tightens up. I can't swallow. So I spit the sandwich out in this metal toilet. I flush both sandwiches down the toilet, hit the button, flush it down the toilet. They escort me back into the courtroom. I've got 2 lawyers at this trial. The better of the 2 lawyers was a woman named Karen Lambert. She looked at me. She said, brace yourself. This is going to be bad.
Oh.
And I'm like, how bad, Karen? She said, while you were gone for that brief 10 minutes, the jury sent a note into the judge from the jury room. They wanted to know if they could give you life without parole. Liz, this freaked me. Life without parole is capital.
This is your first offense, correct?
First offense ever. I've never been in trouble before. These are property crimes around meth. No one was even hung. Capital life without parole is capital punishment in Texas. That's for crimes where people get killed. And I'm like, Karen, that's insane. I didn't. No one was even hung. I never hurt anybody, not physically. And she said, Damon, none of that matters. The jury hates you. You need to get ready for this decision. And the judge calls the court back in. Bam, bam, bam. Damon Joseph West, you are hereby sentenced to 65 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Liz, 65 years in Texas is a life sentence in Texas. The jury gave me life that day, or as they say in prison terms, 6 dimes and a nickel. The name of the book, right? Yeah. It's turning your biggest liability to your greatest asset, right? So
you were how old?
I was 33 years old when I got sentenced, 32 when I got arrested, 33 when I get sentenced to life in prison. It's almost biblical, right? I mean, we're talking about 100%. The ages here. So it's like, and I'm not comparing myself to Jesus in any way. What I'm saying is that I go on this journey and the time frame is like lining up. It's like this crazy parallel, because it is, in my opinion, going to be Jesus that pulls me out of this thing. I'm going to get on Christ's back. That's not happening yet, though. I'm in this courtroom. Yeah. And
I want you to tell us what your mother, because this is the part that literally, other than your life sentence, which blew my mind, but when what your mother said to you.
Yeah.
That's why your mother is, you're exactly right. She is the center.
Yeah, she's the main character in this whole story. And so the reason why James Clear's question piqued my interest so much is because, Liz, I did have someone take control of my life because of the choices that I made. And look, I did all the crimes. I'm guilty of it all. I did the crime, so I got to go do the time. Because of the choices I made in life, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice did take control of my life. They did. They took possession of me. It's in the court order. And in fact, Judge Snipes says the Texas Department of Criminal Justice will take control of the body of the defendant. They took my body, literally, like you're under control. So I know what it's like to be in a situation of life where someone did take control of my life. And I knew at that point that day that something had to change and that something was me. But Liz, that day in the courtroom, May 2009, I got no idea how to make this change. I'm scared to death. There's so much uncertainty. I have no idea. And then they bring me out of the courtroom. They rush me out. I tell my mom, my dad, I'm sorry. They rush me out of there. They put me in this little side room. It's got a bulletproof glass. And they told me to wait. So about 5 minutes later, my mom and my dad are escorted in on the other side of the glass. I'm not expecting to see them, but I think they gave my mom and dad one last visit with me because they felt sorry for my parents. I just got life.
Yeah.
So my dad, he can't talk. He's in stunned disbelief that his son, who once had all this promise in life, just received a life sentence in prison. So my mom does all the talking. And she said, baby, debts in life demand to be paid. And you just got hit with one heck of a bill from the state of Texas. But you did everything they said you did. So you're going to have to go and pay that debt to society. She said, you owe Texas that debt. But now you owe your father and I debt too, because we gave you all the opportunity, love, and support to be anything you want to be in life. And that's how you repaid us what we saw in that courtroom. That's not going to work. So here's the debt you're going to pay to us. When you go to prison, you will not get in one of these white hate groups, one of these Aryan Brotherhood type of gangs, because you're scared because you're the minority in there. She said, it's not going to work. You were never raised to be a racist. You're not starting that stuff now. She said, you will not get any tattoos while you're inside that prison. And Liz, for those of y'all watching.
Yeah, you don't have one.
You got no ink. I got no ink, no tattoos. And let me tell you something. These guys in prison, they want to tattoo every inch of your body in the joint. These guys hit me up constantly in prison. They were relentless. They were like, West, let me put a tattoo on you, man. And I tell them the same thing every time. I'm like, dude, I can't do it, man. My mom said,
"You're gonna kill me."
Yeah, my mom said no. And you know what, Liz? But to those guys' credit in prison, they all let me make it. Let me tell you something. Moms are special, especially inside our prison. One of the things I did when I got out of prison is I went back to school and got a master's degree in criminal justice. And I became a professor at the University of Houston, teaching a class called Prisons in America. Like, I'm the only professor on earth to teach a prisons class who lived in prison. And I know from teaching that class, and I know from living in a prison, the busiest visitation day of the year in prisons all over America, Mother's Day.
Wow.
On Mother's Day, which is just a few days away from when we're recording right now, on this Sunday coming up, the line at every prison in America will be out of the gate. There'll be women out there standing in the sun waiting to see their kids that are in prison, because you can't stop a mother from getting to her child. There's just this bond there that's unshakable, unbreakable. And that's what my mom, like with her directive that she gave me, when I told those guys in prison, man, look, I can't get the tattoos, man. My mom told me not to. And they all let me make it because it came from my mom. But my mom didn't let me make it. She wasn't done that day. She said, Damon, I'm serious. She said, look, no gangs, no tattoos. You come back as the man that we raised, or don't come back to us at all. Oof. And I was like, whew. Now, Liz, fast forward to where we are in life right now, the year 2025. I've asked my mom since then, where did that come from that day that you said that?
Yeah.
My mom's a nurse, and she's always been an emergency room nurse, an RN. And she said, Damon, honestly, that came to me from the Holy Spirit. And here's what I'm thinking as I'm looking out. She said, I'm a nurse, so I view everything from the lens of being a nurse. She's like, what I see after you get sentenced to life in prison is my son is dying on a gurney. And when someone's dying, it's called triage. And triage is when you throw everything at the problem. You'll do anything you have to do to save the life. You can amputate limbs at triage. You can do anything that there has to be done. You can give a tracheotomy. You can do all kinds of stuff. She said, so you're bleeding out on this gurney in front of me, and I'm throwing everything I have at the problem. And it's this line in the sand that I'm drawing. And she said it came to her from the Holy Spirit. So
incredible.
That's the power of this conversation. But a lot of people always want to know, where did it come from?
Yeah. And what's fascinating to me is that in that moment, you actually, even when you were getting the sentence, that you actually did know something had to change, because you could absolutely could have still been in the, and even when you were on the floor with the SWAT team, which I think since then you've actually reached out to that SWAT team and thanked them. But even in those moments, you could have been like still in your victimhood. You could have been like, this isn't fair. This sucks. Like,
yeah,
I shouldn't get this sentence. But it really sounds like you started really realizing, like, oh my God, it's like Taylor Swift says, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
For sure. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like you realize that there's no more excuses. What I call that place that I was that day is rock bottom. I finally hit rock bottom, and everybody's bottom is different. Some people's bottom, my bottom was being sentenced to life in prison. There were a lot of warning signs and red flags along the way that just didn't get my attention. I'm an addict in my addiction. And I finally get
losing your home, losing your job. That wasn't even your bottom, which is crazy.
Absolutely. So it's just like, these things that happen in life, everybody's bottom is different. And some people don't ever realize their bottom. They die, so, but I finally hit my bottom and I knew that something had changed, that something was me. And then my mom backstored it with this conversation. But my mom reminds me too in this conversation. She said, Damon, she's reminding me of that prayer plaque that she had on the wall when I was a kid. I told you my mom had these prayer plaques everywhere. And the prayer plaque she had on my wall as a kid, it was the footprints in the sand. And when I was in county jail already, she had already reminded me about the story of Footprints in the Sand, about a guy walking the beach with Jesus. They're watching a video play out of his life. And there's two sets of footprints when things are good. But when the bad stuff happens, there was one set of footprints. And that's when Jesus revealed to the guy that, I didn't abandon you when you saw one set of footprints. I carried you. So she's reminding me in this post-conviction conversation on May 18th, 2009, she said, Damon, get on God's back. Let him carry you through this because you can't do this alone. The guards came to get me. They took me off that day. And so they take me back to my pod, Dallas County Jail. I've got 2 months before the prison bus comes to get me. And look, I'm scared to death. On May 18, 2009, I go back to my prison cell. And one of the first person I saw when I got back to the cell block was a guy named Muhammad. Now, Muhammad's going to play a big role in the story.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at Muhammad. He could see I wanted to cry. He said, don't do it here, man. He said, go to the showers, because you can cry in the shower. You can't cry in public in prison, in jail, because it's a very vulnerable position to put yourself in, a very predatory environment. You can't show emotion like that. It's a weakness in there, where I think crying is actually a very good thing. In there, you don't want to do it. So he's like, hey, get to the shower, cry all you want in there. No one can tell. So I go to the shower that night. I turn the water on. The water hits me and the tears start flowing. And I'm having a conversation with Christ. And I'm like, hey, listen, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I know I got off the path pretty far here. I'm begging you, can I come back? What do I do? I'm crying. And in that shower, I have a vision. And this is my vision of what Christ looks like. So anybody can interpret this however they want. But it's literally Christ saying, come with me, get on my back. I'll carry you through this. And it's the indication that this is going to be okay. What there wasn't, though, in that conversation in the shower, there wasn't scolding. There wasn't condemnation. There wasn't like, you didn't listen to me. Why didn't you listen to me? I told you what to do, all these different ways. No, it was just this all encompassing feeling of forgiveness and like saying, hey, let's go, man. I'll help you through this. I'll get you through this. And so, I'm running around Dallas County Jail for the next 2 months, waiting for the prison bus to come to get me. I'm asking everybody, how am I going to survive? What am I going to do? And everybody's telling me the same thing. You got to get into a gang. You have to get into a gang. But Muhammad was the one guy that was different, this old black Muslim guy. One morning, he shares with me how I'm going to do it. And he's telling me that everything in prison is going to be violent. It's going to be about race. Race runs everything in there. You're a light. They're going to want to snuff out. They don't want someone positive in there. But he said, I want you to imagine prison as a pot of boiling water. He said, you're going to get 3 choices how to respond to this pot of boiling water. You can be like a carrot that goes in hard but becomes soft, an egg that goes in soft but becomes hardened, or a coffee bean that changes the pot of boiling water into a pot of coffee. And he said, that's how you're going to turn this around and keep the promise you made to your parents. You're going to be like that coffee bean. He said, the power was inside the coffee bean to change the water around the coffee bean. And the power is inside of us to change the world around us. That's where the power is. It was the ultimate message I'd ever heard, Liz, that our world is created from the inside out and not the outside in, right? Mm-hmm. It's turned everything up on its ear that I thought about life. And he's telling me, you have this power inside you to change the world around you. You have to be a coffee bean. In fact, the last word he said to me when I left county jail, he said, be a coffee bean. And that was the message I took with me, Liz. I go to a maximum security level 5 prison in Texas, the Mark Stiles unit. It's one of the most dangerous prisons there is in Texas, one of the most dangerous prisons in America. And remember, I'm a prison professor. I can tell you about tough prisons. Uh-huh. Stiles is a tough prison, and it's everything you think it is and more. I would say that of all the prison movies out there, the one that captured prison the best was Shawshank Redemption. Because what Shawshank captured is if there's a lack of hope inside of prison. And hope is the thing you have to have to survive. It's the thing you must have to survive. And And in that world of prison, there's not a lot of hope. And that's the thing that everybody's in search of. But through my mother, through Muhammad, I found hope. And I found other people along the way. There was another guy, one of my first cellmates in prison. I talk about in the book a lot, Carlos, little bank robber from San Antonio. Carlos is there to share wisdom with me. Here's what I believe, Liz, that God can use any messenger to get through to you, but you have to be receptive to all the messengers to get all the messages. And the messengers in life, they don't always look like us. They don't always come from the same background as us. One of mine is a black Muslim man in county jail. Another one, this little Hispanic bank robber serving life in my cell. I mean, yours today, this formerly incarcerated man from Texas on parole for the rest of his life. God can use any messenger to get through to you, but will you be receptive to all the messengers to get all the messages?
I love that. I love that so much. And I can't even tell you how many times I've told the women I coach, they'll come to me, they'll say, I'm in the middle of a horrible marriage. My kid is off the rails. I think I got to send my kid to a therapeutic boarding school. They're cutting themselves. My business is tanking. I don't even think I like it anymore. I don't even know what I'm doing, right? My life is a mess. And I say, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to change you. We're going to get inside you, and then everything is going to change. And then, no, Liz, you didn't hear me. I need you to tell me what to do with my husband. I need you to tell me what to do with my business. I need you to tell me what to do with my kid. And I said, no, I don't need to tell you any of that. I'm going to help you change you.
Yeah.
And the ripple effect of changing you is going to change everything, right? And it happens every time, Damon, every single time. And they never believe me. And then those same children, come around. They start seeing their mother healing. They start seeing the husband says, my gosh, you're so different now. The husband starts responding differently. And you understanding at that point when you're about to go into this prison, I got to be the coffee bean. I got to change the environment. I got to change so I can change my environment. But how did you how did you keep that promise to your mother? Like, you had to go in there, and there had to be people after you every single minute of every single day, Damon. I mean, there's no way. How did you literally survive the first month, day, week in that place and not join a gang?
It was a bloodbath. The first 2 months of prison was the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. In the first 2 months, I probably get in 3 dozen fights. And that's a lot of fighting, Liz. I mean, I'm fighting almost every day in there. And I'm losing 75% of these fights. I'm getting my butt kicked over prison. 3 out of 4 fights, I'm losing. But Muhammad told me this very important thing. He said, you don't have to win all your fights, but you do have to fight all your fights. Some days you win, some days you lose. Don't worry about the losses. Get up and keep fighting. And that's the truest thing in life ever. Like, what it did is he gave me the formula for winning, because you got to look at what the win is. The win doesn't have to be this big mountain you conquer. Sometimes the victory in life, Liz, is getting up the next morning, putting one foot in front of the other and doing it all over again. Chalk that up as a win. That's a big deal if you got up the next day and face the new day. That's a victory. And that's what I looked at life. I just changed my idea of what the victories look like. I knew if I didn't have to physically win the fights, then that wasn't my goal. My goal was to actually survive and do it all again the next day. Yeah. And when you're playing on a different level like that, your enemy is looking at like, well, I'm going to beat this guy. But even though the beatings I'm taking they're not the beatings that they think they're giving me. Physically, I'm taking some serious abuse, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, I'm hanging in there. And it's tough. Like, I'm not saying this was easy. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through. But I fought the white gangs first. Then I fought the black gangs. So that's what Muhammad said it was going to be. You're going to fight whites. You're going to fight blacks. But eventually I earned the right to walk alone. And that's one of the things he told me in there. He said the strongest man in prison always walks alone, doesn't join a gang. And so 2 months into prison, I was standing alone. But I had a big problem in my hands 2 months into prison. I was becoming the egg. I didn't want to be the egg, but prison was hardening me. But I had to change my mindset. And this is where the big shift happens. And this is the shift we all have the power to do. I stopped looking at prison as a punishment, and I started looking at prison as an opportunity. And that's the mindset shift to answer the question. If someone took control of your life tomorrow, what's the first thing they would change? And in order for you to fully go forward, because you know the answer to that question, in order for you to make the change, sometimes you have to change the way you see the obstacle in front of you. If this obstacle in front of me, like say it's one of your clients is talking about they're going through a divorce or their marriage is falling apart, if they stop seeing that as a punishment and start seeing that as an opportunity, like you said, you know, have to get to through you, right? So this is where you make the shift.
Yes.
Your thinking goes on a different level, and all of a sudden that your problems that you thought were this big thing in front of you, that's not the biggest thing. The biggest person, the biggest obstacle I had to overcome was me.
Yep.
And that's something else I learned in there. The only thing I can control is me. And if I'm the only thing I can control, then that's the one thing I'm going to work on every day. And if I'm putting my time into me, then that's the best investment of time, because your time is so precious, Liz. Your time is the only resource you can never get back. You can't buy one more second of this stuff, right? It's not for sale. But once you spend your time on you, spiritually, mentally, physically, every single day, a little self-care, a little self-love, then you become the best version of you. And that's what it took. It took me actually investing in myself every day. And people tell me all the time, Damon, I just don't have time to do that.
I know,
If you don't think you have time, look at your screen time report. You got time.
Oh my God. Guess how many hours you'll get back? Just get off your phone. You'll get 7 hours of your life back.
And I'm not throwing stones at anybody out there, Liz. I got the same problem with that phone in my pocket. Those phones suck the life out of us. The life out of you.
They're another addiction. And I think, and the greatest tragedy in the world, and we could go on about this for 2 million days, but the greatest tragedy in the world is these kids growing up with them. Because,
I was just going to say that.
It's the greatest tragedy in the world, because I did not grow up with the phone. You did not grow up with the phone. We were unfettered. We were free. We got on our bikes. You wanted to go see, you wanted community and friendship. You get on your bike and go down the street and go be with your friend. It's a tragedy of the world. But I will say that it's so interesting to me that you were able to actually think about all these people who give me excuses all the time, Damon. I don't have the time. I'm so busy with work. I don't have any time I tell them, you got to breathe. Your morning routine is everything. What's your morning ritual? Like, you got to do your meditations. I give them meditations and all these different things.
Liz, what you just
said. You have to do it in prison, Damon. My God.
But so what you just said. So let's unpack what you just said. Your morning ritual. Liz, I go speak to prisons all over America. I try to go into a prison every month somewhere, voluntarily walk in. I think it's one of the reasons God got me out, is to go back in and bring hope, right? I'm like a real life Andy Dufresne, the guy from Shawshank. I bring hope.
Yes, you were.
And I go into these places, and when I go into the worst part of prisons, and sometimes the wardens don't even want to go to the part of prison I want to go into. I want to go where the worst cases are, the most dangerous people in there. And the wardens are like, man, we can't go there. It's too dangerous. I'm like, they need it the most. And this warden in Utah, he didn't want to go into this part of the prison that was the most dangerous. And he's like, look, I can only let a few of these guys out at a time. And there's like 50 people in this pod. And I'm like, let them all out at one time, because we can't do it. We've never done that. We're not doing that. And I'm like, load up all your special response team people, get them ready. But I promise you, once you let them all out and they start hearing me talk, it's not going to be what you think. And so he's like, all right. So they load up all these special response teams. They're dressed up like Ninja Turtles. I mean, they've got the shields, the helmets on. We go into this room, this huge show of force, all the doors roll, all these inmates come out, and these are some bad dudes, man. This is the toughest of the toughest. But remember, there's nobody in prison in America that can say, well, he doesn't know what it's like to have real time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or he didn't know what it's like to do time on a real unit. I did time on one of the hardest units in America. So I've got this unique currency to spend. And to your point about your ritual, when I got done speaking that day, and I said, does anybody have any questions about my story? Hands go up. And I'm going to tell you, one of the first questions that ever came out of one of those guys' mouth, what did you tell yourself every day when you woke up and your feet hit the floor of the prison? What did you tell yourself? What was your morning ritual? What books did you read? I want to know what you did, because success leaves clues. That's what they want to know, man. What is your ritual? Because that starts your day. That sets the whole tone for the rest of the day. And here's another thing I would tell you in life, like, even when I'm going through that, and even after I got out of prison, I started, getting out there speaking, and I got shot down most of the time before anybody would let me in the rooms finally. I would always remind myself of the times when I succeeded. You've got to remind yourself of when you win. Remember the successes in life. And whenever you're going through a difficult time, remember the times that you won. Tap into that special memory of the time when you did succeed, and tell yourself, don't listen to yourself. The voice in your head is fear talking to you sometimes. You don't want to listen to that. Fear's a liar.
Always.
Talk to yourself. For years, I think that people would say you were crazy. You were insane if you talk to yourself. I talk to myself all the time. I've been doing it since prison. I affirm with myself that I belong in these rooms. I affirm with myself that I'm going to get through this obstacle. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow, but I'm going to win. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing. Because here's the thing, your voice is the voice that you're going to hear more than any other voice your entire lifetime. That's the voice that talks to you more than anybody else ever talks to you.
Absolutely.
What are you telling yourself? You got to tell yourself positive stuff, because if you don't do that, you don't have a chance out there. And that's, a lot of the stuff that I did in prison. I practiced servant leadership. I'd help other people grow. I'd focus on, working on me. And after 7 years and 3 months in a maximum security prison, the parole board let me go. Now, I'm not free. I mean, I'm 50 years old while we're recording this right now. So I'm not a free man. I get off parole when I'm 98 years old, 2073. Yeah. So I got a little more time. But I'm halfway there, Liz. I mean, I look at it like I'm halfway there, right? I made halfway to parole, but I'm not worried about being in parole because I'm a coffee bean. The state of Texas, they have rules I got to follow, but everybody has rules they have to follow. I have a choice every single day of what my life is going to be like. And, I tell people all the time that when you have a situation in life where you're faced with something and there's pressure on you, create some rules. This is in the part that you control in life. What does this look like in my life? In my life, I have these rules I live by. When I'm on the road speaking, I'm never alone with a woman that's not my wife, right? Now, my wife runs the business side of the speaking stuff, so she'll have relationships she creates with some of these events that I put on, and she'll tell me before I go on the trips, hey, this person is going to drive you from the event to your hotel. She's okay. We've talked about everything. Don't worry about that. But I'm not alone with a woman that's not my wife on the road. And here's why. I'm not worried about being tempted. I'm not Mike Pence. And that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I don't want to put myself in a situation where I need the benefit of the doubt. I'm an ex-con. No one's ever going to believe me or take my word again. If I can't go into a courtroom and defend myself. So the only way to keep myself from a situation where I don't need the benefit of the doubt is to separate myself from any situation. Another situation where I don't do. I'm never alone on an elevator with a woman or a child. If I'm on an elevator and a woman or a child gets on, I get off on that floor like it's my floor. I'll get another elevator. I'll take the stairs. I just don't want to be in a situation where it's my word against someone else's.
Yeah.
Another thing I do when I'm going to schools and speak, because I do a lot of school speaking, I don't use the bathroom in the hallway where kids are going in. I mean, what if a kid said, man, he touched me, or he looked at me, he looked at my pee-pee or touched? I'm done. I'm over.
Yeah.
But I have control over some of these situations, and I've got to exercise that control. I spend a lot of my time on the road in my hotel room with the door locked and sober. Liz, I've never seen anybody alone, sober in a hotel room get in trouble. Never in the history of humankind have I seen somebody do that. But
yeah,
but I'm willing to take it to the next level to make sure that I don't put myself in situations that I could have said later on, man, I could have avoided that situation. I've got to eliminate risk, and you control a lot of these risks in your life, but sometimes it's going to take making sacrifices. People will say, man, I hate that you have to live like that. I don't. I'm on parole. I'm free. I could be living in a prison right now, Liz. I mean, they could keep me till 2073, but they let me go, and I've got this incredible life. So I always look at things like, hey, man, what's the best possible situation here? Let's focus on that.
Did you ever go back and think, I don't know this answer, but I'm just going to ask anyway. What happened with the SWAT team, guys? What happened with what was his name? The black guy that Muhammad. What happened with Muhammad? Did you, after it was all said and done, when you became the coffee bean, and now, my God, Damon, you are speaking to the fact that you even were willing to do this podcast. I thanked you up at least 100 times. Let me thank you one more time. Thank you. But you are one of the most sought after speakers I've ever seen in my life. You are an incredible storyteller. Your book is incredible. Your new book, I can't even wait to read it. At 5 dimes and 2 nickels, right? Is it
6 dimes and a nickel?
I can't even do math. 6 dimes and 2 nickels. I can't even wait to read it. What happened? Did you go back and thank them? Did you talk to any of these guys?
So, yeah. So first of all, Muhammad, I went out and I found Muhammad after prison. He was dead.
Oh.
He actually died on May 9th, 2017 of an opiate overdose in Dallas. So almost exactly 8 years from recording this episode, he passed away. Once I found out he was dead, I found his family, and I created a scholarship in his name called, his real name is James Lynn Baker II. So it's the James Lynn Baker II Be a Coffee Bean Scholarship. And I put $10,000 in the scholarship every year. And every year the family picks the winner. His sisters pick it. His son picks it. So that every year, one little boy or one little girl that grows up in his old neighborhood of Dallas, they get out. They get a better chance at life through education. So I found Muhammad, And then one of the next things I had to do is I had to go find the SWAT team. And the reason why I had to find the SWAT team is because I had to thank the SWAT team for saving my life. These men and women don't get thanked for anything like that.
Of course not. Right.
And law enforcement is one of the hardest jobs in the world because there's the thing. Law enforcement is one of those jobs that every interaction starts off on a negative, right? You see a badge, you see a gun, you shut down, body language gets bad. They have to work so hard to just get this conversation turned around to a place of less than zero, right?
Absolutely.
So I reached out to them. I went and met with them. I told them all, thank you for saving my life. I wanted you to see an example of someone that got it right, because as you go out there and you save other people's lives, there's going to be another Damon West out there. And not everybody that you put away is going to be a bad person. They're bad people when you get them. I was a bad person when you got me, but everybody has potential to be great. Everybody has potential to be redeemed. And
Yes.
I want you to see that example because your job matters. And then I told them, I said, listen, one of the dumbest slogans I've ever heard was defund the police. Dumbest thing I've ever heard, right? Because I lived in a world where there's no police. I lived in prison. There's no 911. If someone's coming to get you in prison, there's nobody coming to save you, coming to help you. And if you don't have healthy police force out there with good cops, then you're living in a prison on the outside. And so I said, listen, I think it's a terrible slogan. So my thing is fund the police. Give me a list of all the equipment that you need to help save other lives and come home safe to your families that you can't get through DPD, and I'll buy it. And Liz, they took me up on it. They gave me a list of like $20,000 worth of stuff. And I finally just delivered the last $10,000 worth of gear to them 2 months ago. And I mean, I've got a great relationship with SWAT now. I mean, they're always like, hey, when you're coming through Dallas again, call us. Let's go have lunch. Come to headquarters down here, hang out with us.
The SWAT guys.
Lunch with the SWAT guys. It's crazy, right? I mean, but it's proof that anybody can be redeemed. And
Yes.
I think that all you have to do to become the best version of you is decide that you're not going to settle for anything less than the best for you. And what does that mean? I don't know what it means for you, but for me in my life, I just wanted to become the best version of me. And some of that requires me making amends. And I'm going to share with you something, Liz, because I know that you have a very strong female audience. I'm going to share something with you that this story is in the book. All right. So in Texas, they got a law that says you cannot apologize to the victim of a crime. And if you apologize to the victim of a crime in Texas, they'll send you back to prison. I think this law is really geared towards victims of violent crime, right? Think about someone that has been sexually assaulted, someone that's been raped.
Mhm.
25 years later, you're not just necessarily wanting someone that's getting out of prison coming by and say, hey, I'm sorry I did that. You
Right.
moved on. You've put that in the past, and
Yeah.
they can open up old wounds. So I'm not able to go out and apologize to the victim of my crimes because that's a punishable offense. So I'm not going to do that. In fact, I work a 12-step program recovery, Liz. The 8th step of the 12 steps says that you make a list of all the people you've harmed.
Yes.
The 9th step says that you're willing to go out and make the amends, except when to do so would cause you or them harm. And in that case of that, you do what's called a living amends. Now, living amends is when you go out and do good deeds and you expect nothing in return. That's how you make amends for amends that you can't make personally, somebody.
Yeah.
So for all my victims of my crimes, I'm never going to apologize because I'm not going back to prison. That would cause me harm. And so I'm not going to go back to prison just to make an apology, but I will go out and make a bunch of living amends for the rest of my life and hope the balance sheet works out by the time I'm dead. So this reporter in Dallas wanted to do a story with me. And so he does the story, and it comes out really well. And there were certain elements I wanted in there. I wanted to be able to tell the listeners I was a bad guy and I deserve what I got.
Yeah.
And it was in Dallas. So all my victims are in Dallas. And so the story aired. And that night after the story, I got 2 emails. The first email was from one of the detectives that took me down. Not a positive email, Liz. I mean, this guy's like, hey, you were a bad guy then. You're a bad guy now. I don't believe a word of it, basically. You were a smooth talker then, smooth talker now, right? And I sat around with this email for a minute or two. I thought to myself, you know what? He is entitled to his opinion. And here's what I learned in recovery. Other people's opinions of you are none of your business.
None of it is.
He's entitled to his opinion. And he represented society when I broke the social contract, right? This man represented society and he took me down. He has some strong feelings about that. And he's entitled to that. And again, it's not my business what he thinks. And in the end, I didn't respond to his email because I'm not a criminal. He has no power over me. So if I respond, I give him power. So I let it go. The second email got my attention. It was from a name I didn't recognize. The subject line of the email says, Damon, I forgive you. Liz, The biggest victim of all my burglaries was a woman whose condo we broke into July 4th weekend of 2008. Now, remember, we go down July 30th, 2008 with SWAT.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the last burglaries in the whole crime spree for 3 years. I break into this lady's condo with my partner in crime, Dustin. First thing we get, we start getting electronics. Then we see a safe in the bedroom. We break the safe open. There's a diamond ring in there. We take the diamond ring. We take off. These are all things we can sell for dope. What we didn't see when we were in that apartment was the tri-folded American flag on the wall and the killed in action plaque next to it.
Oh,
Liz, that ring belonged to her dead fiance.
oh,
He stepped on an IED in Iraq in 2007, Liz. He died fighting for my rights. Even the guy that's a scumbag that's stealing from people for drugs, he died fighting for people like me to have rights to live in this free country. And we stole that ring, and we stole something from her that she could never replace. And then her email, the email says, the subject line says, "Damon, I forgive you." It's from a name I don't recognize. And when I open the email, it's her. And I am reading this first person perspective of what it was like the day she walked into her apartment. She realizes that it's been broken into, and she makes a beeline for the safe, and it's gone. It's gone forever. And then she sees the story in the news about the former uptown burglar. What's he doing now? And she's going through this range of emotions, Liz. I mean, like anger, but then it's like she's telling me that her dead fiance is talking to her and saying, "Hey, look what Damon's doing in his life. And if Damon can go out there and impact somebody's life, then that's a net good thing. And let's get supportive of that. Let's get behind Damon." This story is in the book, 6 Dimes and a Nickel. I'm going to share with you part of her email, what it says.
okay.
She said, "With that, I'd like to say, I forgive you. I'm moving on in the hope that you're a genuine person with a good heart, in the hope that you put others before money or fame as you share your story, in the hope that you and your family never experience great loss or violation, most importantly, in the hope that you feel peace in knowing that we are saved from the mistakes we make in this world, thanks to the unfailing love of Christ. Life is such a gift. May you live it to the fullest, Damon."
Oh my gosh.
I mean, oh man. And I mean, the tears came flowing, and
That is so generous of her. What a generous,
yeah. And I mean, the
hearted person.
fact she forgave me.
Yeah.
Forgiveness I was never going to be asked for. Look, Liz, I carried the thought of this woman with me around prison every single day. She was the first person that testified at my trial. I mean, the perfect witness to put on, right? The one that lost it all, and her husband her fiance died fighting for her country. I thought about this woman every day. I thought about her every single day that I was out of prison and the violation I did to her life. I thought about her all the time. And I mean, it was like a toxic companion that I brought around. It was the thing that held me back so many days in life from forgiving myself. Like I couldn't let this go. And then she writes me this email and she tells me, it's gone. I forgive you. Not only that, but she gave me permission to go live my life. I think it's in the chapter in that book is called The Healing Power of Forgiveness. And I think that this is like a great place to land at this podcast, is like, whatever it is that you're holding inside, that you can't let go of, you got to let it go, because resentments in life ultimately hold you back. A resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. Resentments really hurt you. Yeah. Usually the person that you, or place, or whatever it is, the thing you represent, the thing you resent doesn't know. And usually when they find out, they don't care.
Yeah.
This resentment holds you back. And if you could find a way to let go of these resentments, then that's the best gift you can give to yourself, because you live a life that you don't carry around this baggage every day. I tell people all the time in the program recovery, my goal is to keep my side of the street clean. Yeah. I can't clean your side of the street, Liz. You can't clean mine. I can't clean my neighbors, but it's not my business what they do with their side of the street. All that has to happen is Damon's side of the street cleaning. What I mean by that is I'm not talking about it with a broom. I'm talking about spiritual, emotional, mental health. You got to work on that every single day, and you got to do spring cleaning. I work the 12 steps with my sponsor every year. We go back through the steps again, because you're going to build up this baggage. So I got to clean it out throughout my life every single year. And I work a thing called a personal inventory. Personal inventories are great. It's when you find out, why you resent things, why you fear things. You work things out. Look, a business that never runs an inventory goes broke. You don't know what you have on your shelves. You don't know what's in stock, what's not in stock.
Yeah.
And you're going to go broke too, spiritually and mentally, emotionally, if you don't work a personal inventory. So, yeah.
What an incredible gift to receive for all of the ways that you're getting emotional and you're getting me all emotional too, but for all of the ways that you've given back, which is, I'm sorry, 200 fold for what actually I think all the things that have happened to you, you've given back 10-fold, 20-fold, 200-fold to all the going in these prisons, talking to people in an office building who just feel like they're unimportant, and then they hear you speak and they think, my God, you know what? Maybe I do matter, right? Maybe I will go home and be a better father. Maybe I will be nicer to my wife. Maybe I will actually leave this job because I hate it so much and will start my own business. Whatever it is that you're giving people, but for you to receive that.
Yeah. No, it's
incredible.
But I've learned that this world has been really good to me. And look, and
which is insane that you say that, but yes.
Yeah. But I mean, but I made some mistakes. I put myself in, I'm not a victim. I put myself in the position that I had to go to prison and I had to pay my debt. But I think, again, back to the original, like, this is how God, whatever you believe God is, uses people like this. You become a vessel, but you have to always remember you're a vessel. It's not about you. It's about a higher power. And as long as I keep that in mind, I think things are going to be great. We'll end this up with my mom. As I told you at the beginning, she's the main character. So my mom drags my dad sometimes to this prison to visit me over 150 times.
Oh my gosh.
I got over 150 visits in prison. Liz, my mom never let go of me. When it came time for me to do my appeal that I was writing from prison to try to get out, I'd be on the prison phone with my mom, and I'd go to the law library, research cases, and I'd handwrite all the notes for my brief, and she would type them up for me. And my mom and I put together this great brief that really got the attention of a lot of people in the state of Texas, a lot of lawyers and stuff like that. I mean, and then when it came time for my parole, you have a parole packet that you put together, and your parole packet's your best shot to explain to the parole board of why you deserve to get out. I looked at 100 different parole packets in prison, at least 100 of them, all these different guys. And I took the best parts of them. I'd write up what I want, and I'd send it to my mom. My mom put together this incredible packet that we were able to give to parole, and really one of the reasons why I got out. And so whenever I got out of prison, my mom and my dad were waiting for me, and I go live with my parents the first couple of years. I meet my wife, my future wife, who's a woman named Kendall Romero, and she's a nurse practitioner. So my mom was a nurse. My wife's a nurse practitioner. And I found out that medical is one of those rare places that you can find empathy. In fact, in prison, the only place a man was guaranteed to find empathy was at medical. A lot of guys in prison would drop sick calls, doctor notes, just so they could go down to medical and someone would listen to them and they would feel with them. Because people in medicine, if you're really in medicine for the right reasons, you don't care what a person did to get there. You want to fix the broken person. And so it's no mistake that I ended up marrying a nurse practitioner. My mom was a nurse. And so 2 years ago, 2023, my dad dies of stage 4 colon cancer.
I'm so sorry.
And he had lived a great life. And look, I got to turn it around. My dad got to see it all. Right? He was there for a front row seat. Yes. There's a great story about him in 6 Dimes and a Nickel. But my dad tells me, he said, you got to take care of your mom. And I hear him. I don't know what it means. My mom was about 15 minutes from me. But Liz, I'm on the road 20 to 25 days of the month. Sometimes I'm home for 36 hours. 15 minutes might as well be 1,500 miles. I don't see my mom all the time, right? I'm home. It's like a pit stop sometimes coming home. And so I could see that my mom, after my dad died, my mom's life was kind of sliding down. Her physical health wasn't as great. Her house was a mess. My wife and I just bought this piece of property we built our dream house on, and there was room up front for one more house. So I told my mom, I said, Mom, Kendall and I we're going to build you a house, and you're going to live with us. And you never had a daughter, because I've got 2 brothers. So never had a daughter. You got a daughter-in-law. You got a little granddaughter that you're going to get to spend the rest of your years with. And we're going to get to spend more time with you. And in December of this past year, in 2024, we turned over the keys to our brand new house to my mom. So my mom was the front of my property now. So I saw her this morning.
So now when you are home, you can see her.
Yeah, today was garbage day. So I went and got her garbage, took it out to the fleet floor. So yeah, so life has come full circle for me, Liz, but it's all about these principles that I learned in a program recovery, these people I met along the way. It was also me being willing to listen to the messengers,
Yes.
because the messengers were all kinds of different people. And here's the thing: if you close yourself off to people because of their differences, different race, gender, ethnicity, religion, opinions, political views, you close yourself off to somebody because of their differences, you could miss some of the most important lessons, some of the best friendships in this life.
I could not agree with you more, and I'm so grateful. I knew this was going to be impactful and incredible, and I knew even just I mean, I have like really gone deep on your story, and I love your story. I even learned things I didn't know, and I'm just so thrilled that you came here today to share all of this. There's so many nuances and things you brought up. There's so many gold nuggets in this in this show. I can't even. People are going to be pausing, rewinding, getting all
Oh,
of this.
good. I hope so. I hope
Oh
that.
my
I hope
God,
that
yes,
we-
Damon.
hope we
But
were useful.
but I have to say, for all the pressure, I always say to women, you got to look for the diamonds in the ashes.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
got a book coming out myself, and it's all about finding your diamonds, because that's what I've had to do to heal myself. I had to sift through the ashes of my life. I had to find the diamonds. And how are diamonds formed? Pressure, extreme heat, right? My God, the diamonds in your life. And you really are a diamond. You're a walking, breathing diamond.
Thank you. No, look, I'm so great. I tell my wife every day, I can't believe this is my life. I tell her all the time. So I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share with your audience today. And thanks for having me on, Liz.
Well, Damon, thank you, not for just sharing this story, but honestly for showing us that transformation is not just possible, but it's powerful, it's beautiful, and it's available to everyone. You are living proof that the worst day does not define you, right? It refines you like that diamond. And so I want everyone that's listening today, if you loved this conversation, and I know you did, I know you did, share this episode. Damon, tell us how we can get in touch with you. How can they hire you to speak? How can they get?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what can they do?
My website is damonwest.org, DAMONWEST.org. That's where people find me to speak. And I do a lot of corporate speaking now. So it's really like that's really that masterminds, groups, organizations. And also my book, The Six Dimes and a Nickel, it's available on Amazon right now. Listen, I'm asking everybody out there, go buy my book, pre-order right now, please. Here's why. I believe that America needs a comeback story right now. We're so divided.
Oh my God, we do.
This story has all the elements that this country needs to unite again. It has everything. If you think about what I told you today, it has every single thing that we need to become together and be a great country again. So the only way to make that happen, Hollywood will never take someone serious if their book was not a bestseller. They're weird. So help me become a bestseller. I need help. The three hardest words for a human being to say, I need help. So if you want to follow me too, my Instagram, social media, all that is at Damon West 7.
Yeah, and I'm going to put every single thing in the show notes so everybody can. I'm going to put the link to get the pre-order, because I already got mine, but I'm going to obviously give it as gifts too, because we got to get them to bestseller. Because I need this story. I need this story out there. I need a movie. I need TV. I need everything Coffee Bean. I need every coffee bean, anything I can get, and I need all the six dimes and a nickel I can get. But you are the coffee bean. That's the message today, right, Damon?
Yeah, and
You
can
are
be
the
too.
coffee bean. Yeah,
And
you
can
are
be
the
too.
coffee bean. You are the alchemist of your own life. And remember, healing isn't a destination, it's a journey. And your journey starts now. What if you started it today? Listen to what Damon said today. What if you literally decided today, because ready isn't a feeling, it's a decision. What if you decided today? What if this SWAT team moment, what if your SWAT team moment is right now? Think about what Damon said and be the coffee bean. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.